averaged 77 on the midterm exam. So the exam score, the 10th graders averaged 77 on the midterm exam, and the 11th graders averaged 91 on the midterm exam. What was the average? Average on midterm for the entire class. In other words, the 10th graders and the 11th graders. Well, if you look at this and you say, well, that looks pretty easy, right? Because if I did 77 here and 91 here, I'll just do the average. And the average is you add up all the numbers and you divide by the number of numbers. And so that's 168 divided by 2, which is 84. And you mark that correct and you move on, and then you get your score back and you say, wrong. Can't do that. You cannot take the average of averages. So that's bogus. So we have to do something a little bit more. We have to break it down for each class. Okay, so let's talk about what the average is. So the average for the 10th graders is equal to then the sum of their scores divided by the number of students that took the test. So it says there are 12 in the class, so it's over 12. Now, we don't know what this is, right? Somebody got an 80, somebody got a 90, somebody got a 60. We have to put all those in and then divide it by 12 to get this average of 77. Well, let's see. The average then for the 11th graders is equal, again, to the sum of the 11th grade scores divided by the number of students there, which is 9. Well, let's see here. I know what the average for the 10th grade, right? Because they gave it to us. It's right here. So I can replace this with a 77. And we know the average for the 11th graders because they gave it here, so that's equal to 91. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply here and there. I'm going to multiply both sides by 9. And I'm going to multiply 9 on both sides because I don't want to change the relationship. I just want to change the numbers. And I'm going to multiply here both sides by 12. And I'm going to multiply that times 12. Okay, now why did I want to do that? Because when I multiply 12 into this 12 and that 12 cancels. The only thing I'm left with is the sum of the 10th grade scores and on the other side, when I multiply 12 times 77, I get just write it down. 12 times 77 is 924. There we go. 12 times 77 is equal to 924. And here, if I multiply this into that, well, this is in the numerator, that's in the denominator, so the only thing I have left is then the sum of the 11th grade scores and over here, it's going to be 9 times 91, and 9 times 91 is 819. Okay, but I said earlier that how do we find the average of something? It's the sum of all the scores divided by the number that took the test. Well, the sum of the scores would be 924 for the 10th grade. plus 819, that would be for the 11th grade, and divided by the number of students, which is going to be 12 plus 9. Okay. This is the number of students. So when you add 924, 819, and divide by 12 plus 9, you get 83. This one only dealt with averages. I think in college algebra we don't really get into too much more than that, maybe an occasional median or mode question. But if you take more advanced classes like statistics, you'll see this a lot. I think this problem is a little bit difficult.
Yeah,
a little bit
it's difficult.
Hard to absorb. Okay?
It's lengthy process.
Yeah, but let's just see what we did. First of all, we broke it down into pieces, right? We picked out what we wanted. Number in the class, exam scores of each, and which grade it was. And then we used the relationship that, well, if you want to find the average for that first class, it's the sum of all their scores divided by the number of students. And we know what the average was. It was 77. And we know what the number of students was. It was 12. So the sum of all the scores is the number of students times the average. And that's where the 924 came from. And we did the same thing for the other one. That's where the 819 came from. So anyway, it is what it is. All right, erase it.
Ah, good.
At the end of the session today, I'm going to